Okay, well, let's see. I guess it's about 5 after, so I'll keep an eye on the waiting room. Try to admit anybody else who shows up, but why don't we get going? So welcome everyone. So if you don't know me, my name is Mark Gilmore. I'm a professor in electromagnetics here in the ECE department, and I'm also the graduate director. Let's see, other faculty and staff we have with us today are Eva A. Nelson is here. All of you know her, I'm sure. She's one of the most important people in your life, the graduate academic advisor. So she's listening in, and hopefully we'll be able to chime in if she can help answer some questions or if I make mistakes. We have Professor Francesca Cavallo. Also, so Professor Cavallo, I asked her to join us because she is the person who did a whole lot of work trying to write down the formal process of the new exam process. So I just wanted her to be here if possible, and she can be, to help clarify any questions, or if any questions are brought up we hadn't thought about, help us think about how to clarify those. Mm-hmm. And we also have Professor Mario Spatikas with us as well. He's a professor in computer engineering and the associate chair. You probably all know him as well. So he's been very involved in the process of setting up this new exam format as well. So he'll hopefully have some useful contributions. Okay, let's see. We'll see how this, there aren't so many people here. I guess there are 19. I think let's try, feel free if you have questions at any point to jump in. If it gets to be chaos, maybe we'll have to retool that and hold questions to the end. But at this point, let's say just pipe up with unmute yourself and pipe up with a question if you have one. So what I'd like to do today is just go through a set of PowerPoint slides, sort of outlining the new format of the qualifying exam, sort of timelines, expectations, purpose, what we're trying to accomplish, and the basic rules and logistics. This was all contained in the email and additional document I sent you. Well, for the most part, there are a few additional details, but this may be helpful to go through. Okay, so let me share my screen here. Okay. Are people able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So unfortunately, that's full screen mode. Now I've lost the ability to see who's there in the waiting room. So I'm going to get out of that so I can keep an eye on the waiting room. So if I go to this mode that's not full screen, is that okay for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so well, welcome to this information session on the new format of the qualifying exam. Let's see, let me see if I can I guess I can't turn on a laser pointer if I'm not in full screen mode. Okay, I'll have to point with my mouse. Are people able to see my mouse as I scroll around?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks for the feedback. Okay, so all right, so moving on to second slide here. So just to remind you and to put this in context, the qualifying exam is the first of 3 exams that are required by the ECE department and UNM for the PhD degree. So UNM, Office of Graduate Studies, actually doesn't require the qualifying exam. It requires exams number 2 and 3, but this department has, as many departments at this university and at other universities as well, we have a qualifying exam. So that will continue with a new format. So the qualifying exam is number 1 here. It's the first exam. The second exam is the comprehensive exam. That's one that Office of Graduate Studies knows about. And what that is, as you probably know, is really a dissertation proposal. And then the third exam is the dissertation defense at the very end. And after that, you're a doctor or soon to be a doctor. Just to go through a typical timeline of what the steps between each of these exams are. I've sort of listed a typical scenario here. Of course, this can vary by students. Some people come with a master's degree or have done a master's degree here. So things may be a little bit out of order. Some people go part-time at points, and so the timeline may be stretched out. There may be people doing thesis research at one of the labs or elsewhere. So this can vary, but this is sort of a typical sequences of events we'd like to see in a typical timeline. Okay, so the first step is you're accepted to the PhD program. So this will basically be a new requirement. I think we've actually always had this requirement, but in the past we've pretty much allowed to allow master's students. We have allowed master's students to take the qualifying exam if they wanted to. We're not going to allow that anymore. Now, in order to take this exam, you will have to be admitted into the PhD program. And I think this just makes sense for this format of exam is the only reason for that. So you're admitted to the PhD program, and the first most important orders of business as a student are to start taking courses, in particular, complete the core courses. And second thing is to identify a faculty advisor, connect with a faculty advisor, and begin your research. Okay, this second point has not been so important in the old format of exam. You could really, in principle, not be connected with an advisor and take the qualifying exam. That in this new format of exam really ought to be changing. Every student should be connected with an advisor early on and be beginning their research, getting their feet wet. And the reason for this is it's just not possible to do a PhD without an advisor who you work closely with. And so we want to see that happening early in the process. Now, of course, the logistics of that can vary. Sometimes people say are doing research at a national lab and they have a day-to-day mentor there. And their faculty advisor is only a little bit involved with their mentor and them. So that's fine, but still you do need to identify a faculty advisor and they need to be in the loop of your research. Okay, and a typical timeline for that, it would be 2 to 3 semesters to get that done. Again, that can vary, but just sort of typical. Okay, so then you take the qualifying exam. You're continuing on taking courses, and so in the next roughly year, I phrased it here, but that can vary again, complete the minor and elective courses and accumulate enough course credits, those 48, or I guess 50 with the seminar classes, course credits for the PhD. Of course, if you come with a master's, you can subtract up to 30 credits off of that. And then this roughly year should be spent then working more closely with your advisor to do the preliminary dissertation research. And here you should be doing the dissertation research, or what will become the dissertation, identifying the details of your dissertation topic, and exploring enough of the technical work to convince yourself and your advisor that you have a dissertation there and you can move forward. So at that point, of course, you schedule the comprehensive exam, which is largely the dissertation proposal. You go through that, and the purpose of this exam really is to try to get you to focus, you and your advisor, to focus on what the dissertation will be, and get feedback from your dissertation committee to see if they see any problems with the path you have planned you have planned, etc. So almost everyone passes this exam. It's extremely rare that someone fails and has to redo it, and that's exactly what we want to see. Okay, so at that point, you advance to your PhD candidacy, and you then spend the next years of your life doing dissertation research. Your family and friends all ask you when you're going to finish, which is the meanest question to ask to a PhD student, of course. But eventually, one day you do finish, write it up, and do your thesis defense, and that's the final exam. Okay, so that's sort of the overall picture of the 3 exams, just to review it and what we expect and the steps in between. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, I'll take that as a no. All right, so let me shift topics here. So as we've announced via email and on the web page, students now ready to take the qualifying exam, that is this fall semester 2020, you now have an option. You have the choice of taking either the old format exam, the written exam on the core classes, as we've had for many years, or you can go to this new exam format. Okay, so the choice is yours. You can do either. So the old format exam, as I've said, and you no doubt know, is a written exam based on the core courses. This semester, as every semester for many years, this will be offered on the Thursday before the semester starts. So this falls on Thursday, August 13th this year. And this will be the last offering of the old format exam. Okay, so if you don't sign up this time, you'll have to go to the new format exam. The deadline to sign up is this Wednesday, July 15th. Okay, so I hesitate to say this, but I'm late in organizing this, so I think we can be a little bit flexible on the date if you need a little more time to think about this and sort it out with your advisor, but something very close to July 15th. Even A is cringing as I say that, I know. I'd just like to point out that the logistics of this exam will very likely be impacted by COVID-19 restrictions. So usually we put everyone in room 118 to take the exam, and it's not clear if we will have a low enough population to do that and exactly what the logistics will be. So we'll have to keep you posted about that as we figure out how we can safely do the exam and what UNM will allow. Okay, so that's option 1. Option 2 is to take this new format exam. And so this new format is an oral presentation together with a written research proposal. And it's based on literature in the student's emphasis area. So original research literature that you read is the basis of the exam: read, understand, and present. The exam will no longer be scheduled on a particular day. It will be individually scheduled for each student sometime during the semester. In principle, this can also be during breaks and during the summer, subject to OGS rules and subject to faculty availability. But in principle, that can be done just like defenses and comprehensive exams. And so this semester, we'll go through the timeline a little later on, and you'll see that we're already past some of the dates that we tried to establish initially. So already we've blown it, but due to getting this exam going in COVID-19, things are just a little bit up in the air with everything currently. So we'll deal with this, and dates and deadlines this semester will be flexible as much as possible. Okay, moving on to the next exam. So first of all, just a basic overview of the exam, and then we'll go back and look at some of these points in some more detail. So the exam will be conducted by a qualifying exam committee, and the qualifying exam committee will be formed when the student announces his or her intent to take the exam. So that student will speak with their advisor, the chair of their emphasis area, and even A to initiate that process. And the exam committee will be formed at that time. The committee will consist of 3 to 5 members, all of whom are regular faculty in the ECE department. Let's see, so this will be basically the same as the comprehensive exam. Most likely, this committee will contain 3 members. Actually, let me back up, sorry. This exam committee will be the same as constituted for our current qualifying exam if you take the oral portion of the exam. So currently, if you are requested to sit for an oral on the course-based exam, the committee consists of 3 regular faculty in this department, and that will be the same for the new format exam. There can be more members, up to 5. I doubt there will be very many of those committees with more than 3 just because of scheduling logistics, but 3 to 5 in general. And it will be the responsibility of the area chair in the student's emphasis area to form the committee. So the student and your advisor can have some inputs, make suggestions to the area chair, but in the end, it's the area chair that will form the committee. The meat of the exam is that the exam committee will compile a list of significant publications, at least 3, it may be more, in the student's emphasis area. And one of these publications will be the basis of the exam. So out of these 3 or 4, 3 or more publications on the list, the student will pick one of those, form the committee, and then go away and read the paper and any background, develop an understanding, and put together a presentation to give to the committee. And the presentation will be a concise, so the presentation will be nominally 30 minutes. It'll be a concise description of the backgrounds, methods, and results of the selected paper in the first part. In addition, you will present the results of your critical analysis of the paper and hypotheses about what the observations were, and ideas for future research based on the research presented in that paper. After that, a question and answer session will follow. And so the question and answer session will focus somewhat on clarifying questions on your presentation, but also will cover discussions of basic topics in your emphasis area. Okay, so that will cover material from the core courses, and sort of just to touch base on your understanding of the fundamentals of your emphasis area. Okay, moving on. So additionally, you'll be required to prepare a short no more than 3 pages written research proposal describing your plan for extending or continuing the research described in the publication. Okay, so this is sort of emulating what it's like in real life when you have your PhD and have to write a research proposal to try to find funding for a project or move a project along. So that's the point here. It's a short thing, sort of like a white paper would be, which is a common thing that people with PhDs have to submit, just a basic outline of their ideas of future research. And then let's see, passing, no passing. This is really unchanged from our current system. So in the event that the student doesn't pass, you will have one more opportunity to retake it and pass. And if there's a fail in the second time, then you will not be allowed to continue in the PhD program. So I'd like to emphasize here that the goal here is not to fail anyone. The goal here is to have a 100% pass rate. We're on your side, and we're not trying to wash you out. We want to see you succeed. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so moving on. This is taken out of Francesca's document, which was sent out. So what's the purpose of this exam? So this exam really has a different purpose from, at least partly, from what we were trying to measure with the written exam. The written exam really was trying to look at students' understanding of the fundamentals that you've learned in the core classes. So that's part of the point of this exam, but really instead of being backward looking, this is trying to look forward and try to get you to think about and prepare for the research phase of your dissertation. The research phase is the most important part of your dissertation. You may not appreciate that yet if you're, the research phase is the most important part of your PhD, I meant to say. If you're bogged down in classes early on, you may not appreciate that yet. But really, the PhD is all about research. So we want to focus you on that early. And we want to try to motivate you to get yourself up to speed in terms of being able to understand your research in a broad context, understand the research in your field, being able to present your ideas and your understanding both orally and in written form. We want to try to assess your potential for success in the research phase. Okay, so bullet points are listed here. So we're looking to assess your students' potential to conduct independent research, ability to express and defend technical ideas, both writing and orally. We want to assess your fundamental understanding of the basics of your field, as well as the breadth of knowledge and general view of research in your area, your overall scholastic competence, and your ability to provide criticism of existing work in a constructive way that might serve to support your peers in the context of writing a professional paper or giving an oral presentation. So all of these skills are what we do as people with PhDs. These are absolutely critical skills to have as PhDs. Whereas being able to regurgitate the written material from a core class, well, that really applies to any degree, right, or any professional in the field. People with bachelor's degrees have to do that. They have to competently be able to do calculations on their job, same with masters. What's different, or at least expanded when you have a PhD, is really being able to do all the stuff well that's listed here. Okay, and so the purpose of this exam is to try and measure how well you do that, and to try to motivate you to think about these things early on in your career. Any questions on that so far? Okay, moving on. So prerequisites to taking the exam. Okay, so I had really listed this on that flow graph sort of chart on the second slide. But to reiterate, before you're allowed to register for this exam, we're now going to require you to be enrolled in the PhD. That's a pretty hard limit. Complete all required core courses. Now there might be extenuating circumstances here if you've taken the equivalent of a core course at a different university, or there's some reason you're delayed in taking a core course, but you and your advisor think you're up to speed generally in your emphasis area. There may be some flexibility here. You can petition for this. But in general, we really want to encourage everyone to finish their core courses before they think about this exam. And the reason for that is to just give you enough knowledge base and view of your emphasis area so that you can sort of develop an understanding of your field in a little bit more mature way. Okay, and then finally, the third thing is approval by your graduate advisor. Okay, so this is new. So this is trying to bring the graduate advisor into the loop early in your career to really move you into the research phase quickly. Okay, and down here, just some additional caveats I won't go through. Okay, so exam format and some more details. Let's see, so again, this is right out of Francesca's document that was sent to you. So the exam will consist of a written report and an oral presentation, followed by an oral exam session. As I said, you will choose one paper from a list of 3 peer-reviewed articles or publications, 3 or more, it may be more. You'll get to choose one of the list that your exam committee puts together. Let's see, the oral presentation will be in the form of a private seminar with the qualifying exam committee. So this will not be an open public session. This will be like the oral exams given in our current qualifying exam for those who take oral exams. So it's just with the committee in a closed session. So during this presentation, you're required to present a concise description of the background, methods, and results of the selected paper. We expect you also to present the results of your critical analysis of the paper and hypotheses about future directions. So are there flaws in the methods of the paper? For example, is their data incomplete? Do the data support the conclusions? Basic things like that. So we want you to present a critical analysis of that because, again, as people with PhDs, we're doing this all the time, assessing other people's as well as our own research results. So the oral presentation will be in a standard format using PowerPoint or some equivalent software. The presentation will be broken basically into 15-minute review and critical analysis of the paper, followed by a 15-minute presentation on your ideas to move the research forward. Okay, on to the next slide. So after the presentation, the exam will move into the question and answer period. So the oral exam format, it will not exceed 1 hour. It may be less than that. And that will include both questions about your oral presentation, as well as more general questions about your knowledge of core material in your emphasis area. Okay, and then additionally, there's the written report in the form of a short research proposal. So think white paper, so just 3 pages. And there are details in the document again about details about margins and font size and spacing and all of that. Okay, any questions on that at this point?
I have a quick question, Dr. Gilmore.
Okay.
How much time after we choose the paper will lapse before we get tested? Is there a certain threshold?
Yeah, good question. So we'll go through the timeline at the end, which is already out the window this semester, but we'll do our best. But it will be 4 weeks. So the timeline is that you will schedule an exam date with your committee, and then no later than 4 weeks prior to that, the exam committee will send you the list of papers. And so you'll have 4 weeks to choose one and then do your preparation. Okay, so it's there's significant time, but it's not endless torture. Does that answer your question, Raul?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so criteria for assessment. The graduate committee has put together a rubric of criteria for passing an assessment of, well, as listed here, meets expectations or does not or exceeds. The criteria here on the left, I won't go through these. These are in the document. Also, these view graphs will be posted on the department webpage somewhere. We'll let you know. So you'll be able to see these view graphs. But basically, these correspond to each of the bullets. Roughly, they correspond to each of the bullets where we went over the purpose of the exam. And so these are the things that we want to see, just to make this more quantitative. Okay, so exam outcomes and recommendations. Basically, it's simple. You have 2 tries. You can pass or fail on either try. However, on the first try, if you do not pass, the exam committee will be required to give you specific feedback, a specific set of actions that you should be taking to try to bring your next attempt up to a passing score. So was the issue that you're lacking an understanding of some real fundamentals, you need to go review those, or your presentation on future research was inadequate, you need to go tighten that up, think about some more detail, or was your written document just not in acceptable shape. Whatever the issue or issues is, your exam committee will be required to give you specific feedback about what the issues are and how to fix them. So again, the goal here is 100% pass rate on the first try. But if that doesn't happen, you'll have another try with that feedback. And again, pass or fail, and a second time fail means that you won't be allowed to continue in the PhD program, just like now. But we hope this doesn't happen to anyone. That's the goal. Okay, so on to exam process and timeline. So here's a timeline that Francesca put together, and already it's out the window. As I've said, we'll go through the details, but you can note here that really by spring semester we want to ramp up to following this. And if I work backwards, starting on the right side here, the PhD qualifying exam date. So that's in the second semester listed here. So we work backwards from that. let's see, so a week before, 1 week before the qualifying exam, the oral presentation, the exam date, your written report to the committee is due. That's a 3-page research proposal. Let's see, I guess it's not shown here actually, but 4 weeks before will be when the committee gives you that list of, at least 4 weeks before, so no later than 4 weeks before, when the committee gives you the list of 3 or more papers to choose from, and you pick one. So prior to that, well, let me back up here into the first semester. Let me start from the other end now. So in the future, we want to have halfway through the semester prior to when you plan to take the exam, the PhD committee should be finalized. So you should have, before this point, at least by the beginning of the semester probably, engaged your advisor and made your intent clear to your advisor to take the exam, gotten that process going, been in touch with UNM and the graduate office and the area chair in your emphasis area to let them know that you plan to take the exam and you need to have an exam committee formed. And so that process should be complete by midway through the semester before. So that's 8 weeks before. 4 weeks before the end of that semester, the form that I think is now posted and is at the end of this presentation, that will be due to the graduate office. Okay, and so this this is laid out for taking the exam in the spring semester with the winter break in between, but in principle, this could map anywhere. That this could happen in spring semester and the exam is taken in fall semester. In principle, I think we could have the preliminary stuff happen during the summer, provided that your advisor and the area chair and the committee are around to get this process going. So with those caveats, I think this process will be able to work. But so this is just sort of an example. And obviously, we're beyond this point for this exam already. So this semester, we're going to muddle through and do the best we can. We're here to help you. This will all get compressed. So yeah, we'll be flexible and please be patient. Okay, let's see. So I don't know, do I need to go through all this? Well, maybe I should. Okay, so the timeline continued. All right, so students are expected to take the PhD qualifying exam for the first time before the end of their 4th regular semester. So again, this can vary. Ideally, it would happen before that. If it needs to happen after that, you should coordinate that with your advisor, and excuse me, that can be handled by petition. Let's see, the exam can be administered anytime up to basically the OGS deadline for filing theses or conducting the comprehensive exam. We want to implement the same deadline for this exam. So 4 weeks before the end of the semester. So it would be November 15th for fall semester and April 15th for spring semester. It's probably around July 15th, I guess, for summer semester for exams that happen in the summer. Let's see, so as I said, 8 weeks before the semester prior, once we get going, so again, not this semester, you should finalize your qualifying exam committee with the area chair if you're emphasis area, and that should be, well, finalized by then. Let's see, 4 weeks before, you need to make sure you have the forms submitted to UNM. And I guess this verbiage is just details about what needs to be on that form. The form is listed here at the end and also is available now. Okay, on to the next slide. The ECE graduate office, after the exam is submitted, will send formal notice to the qualifying exam committee confirming the details of the exam, and that'll happen before the end of the prior semester. Let's see, so as we've said, 4 weeks prior to the exam date, at least 4 weeks before, the student will be given the list of 3 or more papers from the qualifying exam committee. You'll choose one of those and put your written and oral presentations together, and the written presentation will be due at least 1 week prior to the exam date. Let's see, so after you take the exam committee will present the results to the graduate committee to confirm the results, and the point of this is just to have more people looking at what went on and approving. We don't expect anything strange or irregular, but it's been the historical precedent in this department that the ECE faculty approves all the results of exams in this department. So that will continue. That will be invisible to you as students. Let's see, and you'll be notified of the outcome of the exam before the last day of the semester. If it's the first time and a no pass, you'll be given, again, detailed feedback about what the reasons for the no pass were and what you need to do to correct those. Okay, so I guess that's the details of the logistics. On the next couple slides are just a copy of the qualifying exam proposal form. So this is the new form. This is now available on the ECE webpage. This is the URL here. So you can download that and look at that if you're interested in taking this format, when you're interested in taking this format of the exam. Okay, so I think that's really all I had. Let me go through some notes and summary, and then we can jump to questions if there are further questions. So I'd just like to note that, as I've said, the dates and deadlines for this semester already don't jibe with the timeline that we've put out. So we'll be as flexible as possible this semester. The goal of the new format of the exam is to better measure a student's preparation for and potential success in the research dissertation phase of his or her PhD. Okay, so again, this is really the important part of the PhD degree, and the point here is to motivate you to be thinking about your research and the bigger picture early on, and sort of stepping up and demonstrating the ability to start operating in the research world. I'd like to point out that this is a new and untested exam format, at least in this department at UNM. There are many other departments around the country that have similar formats. So this is not unique or terribly new, but it's new here. And no doubt there will be glitches and problems. So I'm just expecting that. So don't worry, we'll fix them as they come up and we go along. But just keep in mind that ECE is on your side. Okay, we want you to succeed. We're not trying to torture you. I know that's the belief of every graduate student, that the job of faculty is to torture you, but it's actually not true. We really want you to succeed. So please keep that in mind. And so if and when problems do arise, inform the graduate office, Eva or myself, your area chair, and or your faculty advisor. And as long as you're trying to do what you ought to be doing and are on track from your side, we'll do everything we can to work with you to resolve your issues. Okay, so I think that's all I had. Thanks for your attention. I'll open it up to questions now. Well, actually, before I do that, let me open it up. Francesca, Ivane, Marios, do any of you have anything to add to what I've said?
This is Marius. Sorry,
yeah,
Francesca, go first.
No, go ahead. Yeah, it's fine.
I was just going to say I defer to Francesca, who is the expert. I just want to add that this has been a dream for the department to convert to this format. We're very excited about it. And the concept here is to focus you on research on day one. Let me just stop right there. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think Mark covered it very well. So we've been talking about this for a year now. So yeah, we all know what the goal is. So I would say, so probably at this point you might feel a little bit confused about the timeline. So I really encourage you to go through the documents, through the details of that timeline, and to ask us questions. So other than that, I think everything was said. So, and we're ready to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you. Ivane, did you have anything to add?
Just to say that both versions of the forms for the course-based and research-based sign-up forms are going to be on the website, ECE website, on the current student webpage under the graduate tab. So where you would find the advisement worksheet, you're going to find links to both forms for sign-ups.
Okay, thanks, Ivane. Okay, so well, let me open it up to. Does anyone have any questions?
So this is Gene. I have one quick question. So
Okay.
Is the student in charge of forming the committee, or just finalizing that the people in the committee are available for the exam?
Okay, sorry if that wasn't clear. So so forming the committee will actually be the job of the area chair of your emphasis area. So for example, if you're in electromagnetics, I'm the area chair. So when a student is ready to take the exam, they and their advisor will approach me and let me know that want to form a committee and take the exam. And I will be responsible for forming the committee. For other emphasis areas, it would be your emphasis area chair. If you have any questions about who that is, talk to Ivane or myself, and we can direct you to the right person.
Oh yeah, that's fine. It's just that one of the slides said that the student is in charge of like finalizing, I don't know, the schedules of the committee members.
Oh,
I vaguely remember.
okay. I think it meant that the student is in charge of. Believe that meant in charge of finalizing an exam date and making sure that the committee is available, and that has to do with the information that goes on that form, the exam form that we just showed you that Ivane was talking about.
Okay.
So actually, the document does say that the student must finalize the committee.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
the version I have and the discussion, the way I remember it, kind of like it happens for the comprehensive exam, right? So that was the thinking. So I don't know if there is a new version of the document that I haven't seen, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So already we have our first glitch. So we will work this out.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to confirm, so the chair will form the committee, and then the student will coordinate like the dates of the exam with the committee members.
So yeah, that's my understanding. So so
Okay.
just coordinate with your advisor and the area chair.
Okay, And then the other question I had was, what's the student's advisor's role during this whole process? Are they part of the chair? Are they, will they be a member of the committee, or just on the sidelines, just cheering the student on?
So the role will vary and may be limited. So I think first of all, your advisor ought to be giving you advice about whether he or she thinks that you, the student, are ready to take this exam. So just that basic feedback. You know, there may be students new in the program, gung-ho to take the exam, that the advisor may not think has developed the skills of understanding and contextualizing research presented in academic journals. And so hopefully they will give you some advice about whether you're ready to take the exam or not. So that's the purpose of having to have your advisor's approval in the exam to sign up for the exam. Beyond that, there may be no further advisement, no further involvement from the advisor. The advisor may or may not be on the exam committee. I think that will vary. As a student, you may go to your advisor to seek out advice during the exam process. Of course, they can't do your presentations for you or give you the answer, but they may be a person that can give you some advice to help you prepare the written and oral presentations.
Okay.
Did you have anything to add, Francesca?
So yeah, so in the event that the advisor will be part of the committee of the PhD qualifying committee, is not to serve as chair. So the advisor can be part of the committee, but he cannot be the chair. So I just want to point this out.
Okay. Yeah, so the advisor won't run the show, but they may or may not be involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, other questions?
I have a question.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm just confused about the research topic. We have to present our research topic, or we will receive a list of topics from which we have to choose something.
So the idea will be to make it fairly specific to your emphasis area. So the three papers won't be all of electrical and computer engineering. So if you're a computer network person, you won't be asked to read a paper in electromagnetics and present on that. Hopefully you'll get a set of papers that are close to within your general area of emphasis. So if it's computer networks, say it's something to do with computer networks, maybe not specifically on the type of networking you work on, but something relevant enough that you ought to be able to understand the paper without a huge investment in understanding background material. I'm not sure that it's such an easy question to answer, but hopefully that gives you an idea.
Yeah, but yeah, it's fine. But I'm just confused that our research area, research emphasis may be a little bit different from those papers.
Yeah, so well, the idea is again not to try to hit you with something very different than what you're doing.
Yeah.
And advisors will be involved in this process. So it ought to be that the area chair or the committee, when they're picking papers, we'll try to make sure that this happens. These should be run by your advisor, and your advisor should have some idea of the general area of knowledge that you should have. And they should be able to say, no, these papers are much different. I would not expect this person to know any of these papers well. Okay, so I guess to go back to the previous question, that's another role for the advisor, but another role for the advisor to give advice to the committee on, are the papers really relevant to what a given student should know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so again, we're not trying to torture you. It's we're trying to give you stuff that you should reasonably be able to handle.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I really appreciate this idea, and I like it to yeah,
Okay, thank you for that feedback. That's good to hear.
yeah. That will improve our research background and everything.
Okay, good. Other questions?
I have a question about the timeline.
Okay.
The figure showed kind of like if you want to give this exam in a semester, you have to file the paperwork before that semester, a semester before that semester. So, but in practice, if I submit this form at the start of fall 2020, I have a chance to give that exam sometime during the fall 2020 only, right?
So this semester, yeah, the timeline is totally out the window this semester.
Okay.
So we'll do the best we can here.
Yep.
So I would say, Raul, it's you, right? So do it sooner rather than later if this is your intention. You know, start on this like today, I would say, because yeah, the timeline is really compressed. So yeah, I would just start taking action, talk to your advisor and the area chair, so that you can start forming that committee. That's my advice on that.
Yes, thank you, Francesca. Well said. So yeah, you know so we don't want to push up against the end of the semester deadline too hard, and we want to give you the 4 weeks to have the chosen paper to work on. And so you can work backward from there. You know, the time is compressed, so start now if you're thinking of this.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Hi, Professor, I have a question.
Okay.
So regarding the research proposal that we submit at the end, that would include a list of all the future work that can be done, right? So does that have to be like followed through in a dissertation, or is that like just flexible and we can do something completely different?
No, this doesn't have to do anything with your dissertation at all. It could, but in principle, it's independent of the dissertation. The idea is just to get you thinking about if you read a paper and develop a good understanding of what's been done, and it's a paper in your area that where you should know it pretty well, what could be done moving forward. So potentially it's just a theoretical exercise. The hope, of course, is that this will be a benefit to you in your dissertation and in your future research life.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I hear some space aliens talking to us. All right. Well, if not, did Francesca, Ivane, or Marios, do any of you have anything to add to wrap up? Or
Nothing for me.
No, I'm good.
No.
okay. All right. Well, Francesca, Ivane, and Marios, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks to everyone for your attention. I hope this has clarified some things and got you all thinking about this process.
Hey, just one more question. Will the slides be sent out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess it'll be on the graduate link somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where, but we will post them. And if it's not completely obvious, we'll send out the link to you on the listserv.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you all for listening. I hope this has been helpful. As you think of more questions and uncover more problems, don't hesitate to reach out to Ivane or myself, and we'll help you figure out how to get them fixed and move through them. All right, and have a good weekend, everyone. I guess I'll end here.